22 short films about Springfield kind of feels like a Simpsons miracle to me. It's a miracle episode because it turned out so great, so amazing in pretty much every scene. And when you think about the pitch, the core idea for this thing, it sounds like it should turn out gimmicky and terrible. Like a bunch of dumb, pointless sketches, an excuse for the writers to put together jokes without any sort of narrative structure. Maybe I'm being too theoretically pessimistic, but this seems like the kind of thing that is really easy to mess up. But they just nailed every scene in this thing, and it's kind of awe-inspiring. Not only that, but they framed it in such a way where it doesn't feel pointless, it doesn't feel self-indulgent, it doesn't feel gimmicky. What I love about 22 short films about Springfield is how they ground the whole thing with Milhouse and Bart. Not them just wondering about people's stories, but how much emphasis there is on tying all the scenes together. Like Bart and Milhouse walk through a poo scene, buying gum there, and then Bart throws it in Lisa's hair later. Milhouse walks through both the comic book guy and Hermans sequences, which connect up with the Wiggum and Snake sequences from before. Every scene between unrelated characters are transitioned, whether it be a bumblebee, or a donut, or electricity, or commercial break. Okay, maybe those don't work on DVD. The point is that there was an emphasis on trying to get a feel for Springfield as a place, a physical location that we travel across. It's not like something like the Simpsons spin-off Showcase, where everything is clearly segmented. They still try to make it feel like one big thing. That being said, let's talk about some of the individual moments. There are so many of these, I'll have to gloss over some, so my apologies if I don't go into more detail on all of them. Warning for those with motion sickness, we're going to bounce around a lot. Let's start with Apu. With such a murderer's row of sketches, his sequence isn't one of my favorites, but I still dig it. It's just so efficient, so perfectly on the nose of the quintessential party experience. The Molman joke is a great capper as well. I like the Dr. Nick segment a little more, just how it perfectly hits the feeling of one of those hospital dramas. I love the handheld moving camera when Grandpa's waving that scalpel around. Very gritty action feel to it. It's also a nice little moment for Dr. Nick as well. Not that he's competent or anything, but we see how utterly serious he can be at his incompetence. He's really trying hard at his quackery. The Smithers and Burns thing right before it is one of the highlights of the episode for me. I just love how completely and utterly exhausted Mr. Burns gets by the end of it, how completely spent he is by all that old-fashioned bullying. And, as usual, Smithers' general misery is great too. And yes, I know this scene creates continuity issues. In Burns v. Carpenter Kraftwerk, Smithers was complaining about the bees stinging him. Why didn't he have an allergic reaction before? I don't care. This scene is great. I'm not doing a video about Smithers' mysterious allergies. Homer and Maggie are solid, I guess. I like how silly and desperate the whole thing becomes, how it's taken to its most stupidly logical conclusion possible. Now, Bumblebee Man sequence I tend to find the weakest in the entire episode. The whole joke about his home life matching his work life is fine, I suppose, not super revolutionary or anything. What I really appreciate about this segment is that they had the balls to present it entirely in Spanish, not doing captions or anything like that. It's nice to dust off all that high school Spanish I learned. Donde está mi tequila? Indeed. The Reverend Lovejoy scene is good too, if only for the awkward interplay between him and Flanders. Really mean-spirited in a lot of ways, but feels very believable how Flanders would handle this kind of situation. See, this is why we all still love Flanders. Another really brief scene is between Comic Book Guy and Milhouse, but this is one that just kills me every single time. It's so dense with its oddball references, like the photo of Sean Connery signed by Roger Moore. Comic Book Guy's insistence on providing the answer of fries to the children's jumble. It's so snappy, so strange, so weirdly detailed and specific. It's like a vaudeville routine. It works perfectly. I feel the same about the Moes bar scene. It starts out a little gimmicky with the bar tab thing, but Moe crawling into that room and then clicking that light switch, it makes me laugh every single time. I love Barney looking around so confusedly with the light flickering. Next, let's talk about Pulp Fiction. It obviously inspired a decent amount of this episode and its format. Recreating the Royale with cheese scene is just so good. I cannot deal with how well they implemented this moment. It really hit that Tarantino dialogue style, how they make the cops so intrinsically interesting to listen to. This should be boring. Why is it not boring? Is it just little stuff like Chief Wiggum bluntly demanding example, like Jules does? And then how authentically Lou describes McDonald's quarter pounders and shakes and stuff. Obviously, a lot of the greatness is in Tarantino's source material, but it is recreated and executed so flawlessly, it's a joy to behold. Then we have the scene at Hermans. Oh boy, this scene. I actually remember watching this episode when it first aired, just because of how confusing and disturbing I found it when I was younger. Think about it from a child's point of view. Wiggum and Snake fall into his shop, and then suddenly he's tying them up and shoving ball gags in their mouth. To my 12-year-old brain, who had never seen Pulp Fiction, this is so confusing and shocking. I wonder what my parents were thinking while watching this with me, quickly scrambling to think of an explanation for when I asked what the hell is going on. Why is Herman doing this? Once you've seen Pulp Fiction, you obviously get the subtext here and what they're parodying. I still kinda can't believe that they parodied this moment for network television in 1996, that they actually went for this. It's all subtext still, but it's really dark subtext. What is in those crates at Herman's store, I wonder? I do like the execution of it with Kirk and Milhouse though. Just shoving those characters in such an uncomfortable moment, picking Kirk to deliver that stumbly and awkward diatribe. He's like the perfect person to drop in this scene. Everyone else would make this moment worse. The palpable sense of awkwardness in this scene reminds me of something like The Office. It feels like a very modern joke. Circling back to the beginning again, we have that continuous Lisa storyline. I like how this also grounds the episode a little, that it's something we can follow along with. And I like how generally sick of it all Lisa gets, and how Marge is so determined to come up with some kind of magical formula. It's a nice excuse to get all the other side characters in there too. She leads into the ending with Nelson, which is probably the most underrated moment in the episode. I love how this guy just kinda leaves Nelson spellbound, that his weird delivery and earnestness just paralyzes him, and how little subtlety he puts into his argument and his goals. His earnest turnaround of, let's laugh at him. He's so corny and weird. We only have 2 more sequences left to talk about, and to be honest, they're my 2 favorites. They're both similar in how sitcom-y and over the top they are, so it's kind of appropriate that we're grouping them together. First, the Cletus sequence. This scene destroys my brain. Straight up. It's like this weird Midwestern, hee-haw, corny sense of humor that infects the whole thing. This entire segment is literally about Cletus finding a pair of boots and then putting them back. And the theme song is about as long as the sketch itself. And it has the word focal in it. I think it's the ridiculous pointlessness that gets me. It's just so aggressively and brazenly pointless. And I'm mesmerized by it. Cletus's line about the boots waiting for a woman of less discriminating tastes will forever rattle around in my brain. What a life he lives, that Cletus. And finally, you all saw this coming, but we gotta talk about steamed hams. This has already been a pretty gushy review, even by my relatively gushy standards, but the steamed ham scene might be my favorite moment in all of The Simpsons. It's at least the top 5 or top 10 moment ever for me. You will never get me to say even one bad thing about it ever, because it is perfect in every way. It takes that dumb classic sitcom premise, runs it into the ground, and then backs up over and over and over again. And much like the other hamburger scene, it reminds me a lot of Tarantino's great dialogue writing. Skinner and Chalmers are just fun to listen to right here. They're having seemingly the most boring conversation ever, but I'm just captivated by the sheer amount of verbal fencing. I admire the audacity of Skinner for trying the Aurora Borealis thing, and the fact that his bluff actually works. Any poker player would be proud of his all-in bluff right here. I mean, who cares if the house is on fire? Overall, I love 22 short films about Springfield. I suppose you could say that there are a few parts that aren't as good. But I admire how varied the whole thing is, while still somehow feeling kinda the same. I really admire that they just threw everything out there, both conceptually and with the subject matter itself. This is The Simpsons at its most risk-taking, at its most willing to go out there and do something truly weird and offbeat. And, much like Principal Skinner and those steamed hams, they actually get away with it. 22 short films about Springfield, you're an odd episode, but you steam a good ham. Also, Professor Frink is in this episode.